Hey YouTube, how is it going? I hope all is well. So today you can see we're doing things just a little bit differently. It's a little dark in the room. We're trying to get some mood going to make this thing shine a little bit more, etc., etc. We're using the world's most authentic guitar today. It's giving me some troubles. I'm pretty sure this switch is bad. Imagine that. I have another switch on the way, but do be mindful. There's probably going to be some me futzing around with it, so whatever. In either case, you may notice that there are some settings that are a little bit different than you're probably used to seeing on this particular amplifier. One of them is that the master volume is all the way up. The next is that volume 2 is most of the way up, and volume 1 right now is rather low. We're going to try to check out what this thing sounds like on its own with nothing but output section distortion. When I say output section, I mean pi and literally the output tubes. Very little to no preamp distortion. So with that, I am going to mute my mic in a moment, but let me explain a couple other things that are different. Obviously, you can see I have the low cut right up the middle. I have the mids pretty much up the middle. I got a little bit of boost on the high cut, and then I like it doesn't matter where I'm at, I always like the presence right around 2 to 3 o'clock. I got it right around 3 o'clock. I am not going to mess with the EQ settings at all while I'm futzing around. I'm just going to change the volumes. It seems that once you get the EQ kind of set where you want it, works really well. The mids are cut back a little bit because when running it this way, you just can't run them up all the way. It gets rather dark and woolly anyway. This seems to tighten it up pretty nice, gives it a nice balance. Another thing that I did change, I am going into the Torpedo Captor X. Now, the other day, and for the video that you saw in the pre-roll or the introduction video, that was done with an IR that's basically like this one here. It's a 412 cabinet with a G12T75 combo in it. So it's not an IR that's just readily available, so I decided to get one that's out of the box. So this preset is out of the box if you happen to have a Torpedo Captor X, and that is the Clean Warm Humbucker. There are a couple changes I made to it. I turned off the enhancer, so that's out. I did cut just a little bit of 120 and 360. I didn't move them even. So I just cut 3 dB out of each of those just to kind of get some of the woolliness out. The reverb, I just tamped it down a little bit. In that stock setting, it's pretty big. We don't need that much, so I tamped it down a little bit. Now, I did turn on the twin tracker. It just makes it fun to listen to and just more fun. That's really all it does. So it's more of a stereo effect, I guess, if you will. I am plugged into this, but I have it attenuated all the way down. So it just helps to make this thing feel like it's got a real cabinet attached to it as opposed to just the load only. So I'm gonna go through this, mistakes and all. I'm just gonna try to show you what it does, and then we'll go back in a bit and we'll kind of reset things and do it more the conventional way, where we run it more conventionally and then plug an effects board into it, or whatever. So in either case, I'm gonna mute my mic and we're just gonna do this. All right, let's go. All right, I think you kind of get the idea. It has a wide range. Obviously, it starts getting out of control when you start running both of those up pretty high. I wouldn't expect you to run it like that. Like in the room, that would just be balls out. Like that's all 60 some odd watts telling you what's up. I can tell you right now, the transformer was buzzing away. The whole this thing was working. All right. So let's take a quick little break while I change things around to a more conventional setup. So what I'm going to do is turn the master volume all the way down. I'm going to put this thing into the low mode, I guess. Well, it's technically high mode, whatever its largest volume sweep is. And then I'm going to plug this cable here that was in the guitar into the effects loop. And then we'll just hear what this thing actually does with how I suspect most people will work this thing, or at least I'm assuming most people will work this thing. It's I don't know. That's just my assumption, I guess. I have found that regardless of where you're at gain-wise with the master volume and that, this thing works really, really well right around the noon to 2 o'clock position. If you have it in that window right there, that seems to be a pretty sweet spot. So I'm going to leave it kind of right in there. I guess that would be the 1 o'clock position, 1:30 position, thereabouts. And we'll do most of the work with the volume 1 and then, of course, the master volume to taste. Since this is in high mode, I'm not going to try to mess with settings too much. You'll notice I did not change the EQ, and if with any luck, this guy here will just turn back on. I got lucky. It didn't give me any guff this time. But, you know, maybe luck of the draw. So I'm not trying to make this a really long video either. I am monitoring through these guys so I can actually hear what this thing is doing. And then, of course, I apologize. I keep looking up at the screen over there because I'm just trying to make sure I'm not clipping any of the levels going into the OBS here. So let's just get an idea of what we're working with here. It shouldn't be making any noise right now because this is turned all the way down. But let's just go up to here. There it is. Okay. Now, because we're going in this direction here, what I can tell you is that the master volume will need to be up a little bit higher because we're not using the gain from the amp. We're going to do everything from the pedals over here. I'm going to turn the reverb off. That is from the Torpedo Captor X, so it should be dry now. It is dry now. And then the reverb and delay that you hear from behind me is coming from an MXR Echoplex and a Strymon Blue Sky. Got the A rig out for this one. All right, I am gonna mute my mic and just kind of do things. We're gonna do demo in the dark style kind of thing here, okay? All right, let's wind it up just a little bit here. So I'm not going to change any of the settings there, but what I'll do is I'll put some different pedals on in the background. Now what I can tell you is I think it sounds really good with the clean, just raw, right? Just straight in, but it does seem to be a little bit brighter with the pedals than I would prefer. This amp here seems to stay pretty dark, but this one here just seems to be bright. It tends to be bright with the dirt pedals, but I'm just gonna futz around with the different dirt pedals and we'll just kind of listen to how it works around, right? We'll play with some settings and I'm just gonna keep my mic off and just dink with things. So do excuse me while I do that. And obviously it's time for another drink too. We may bust into that guy there too. You never know. All right. Alrighty, so what we've just heard there was a unobtainium raw, which is, you know, from crazy tube effects or whatnot. So that was the initial grittiness. Then we went over to a king tone fuzz that was kind of blended in with it. I also had an EP booster that I had in and out. And then we ended with the dude, right? The J Rocket, the dude. Again, it makes noise. It works pretty well. Obviously, you can run pedals into the amp. We know it works with pedals, yada, yada, yada. Let's go back around the other way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave this alone where it was at. We're going to use this again, but I'm going to turn the reverb on from the Torpedo Captor X. And then I'm going to turn off the Echoplex and the reverb from that, and I'm going to plug straight into this. Now we're going to play with more of the preamp settings so we can kind of get a baseline for what the preamp sounds with this same IR. So bear with me for a moment while I do that. Won't take long. Buzz. As I try to not go off balance here. But, all right. There we are. Okay. All right, so I'm going to turn off the mic again, and at this point, we're just going to mess with the amp and have some fun, and then we'll call it a day. I think you get the point, right? That's the idea, anyway. All right. I had to cough right there for a second. Ugh. My apologies. Oh my goodness. So yeah, that's just me being a sloppy player and just playing a bunch of just cabbage. Just nothing but cabbage. Now, I tried to go through pretty much the whole range and all the in-betweens and fun stuff like that. I think you get the point. This thing will do clean to mean. There's a lot that you can get in between absolutely clean and absolutely mean, and still keep the volume pretty much up the middle. Now, I did not introduce the effects loop while we were doing all that because, as I mentioned before, that when you mess with the master volume, you're going to have to mess with the return volume on the back as well. So it makes it a little bit difficult at this point in time when we're going all over the place to kind of mess with it. This is more of a set and forget kind of toy. So you get the kind of sound that you're looking for, you get the effects loop kind of set what you're looking for, you do your thing, right? So that's that. But we were listening to the effects in the Torpedo Captor X for the reverb at the very least. So you just have to kind of imagine that's the same thing that you would kind of get here, right? Clean or dirty, either way. But it just, that was just made it so I don't have to mess with anything in the interim while we're going from all the different volume levels. In the next video, I will do more of the effects loop and how it kind of interacts and how it kind of works and stuff like that. But not in this video. That's going to be for another day. But I think you kind of get the point. I'm not a super duper fan of this particular cab choice that I picked for the Torpedo Captor X. It does whatever. It does what it's supposed to do. It sounds nice for a clean setting. It's called a clean, warm humbucker. Imagine that. It sounds nice and, you know, warm when it's set for clean. The dirtier stuff is a little woolly, but it is what it is. I obviously need to get my switch fixed. Obviously, we'll get that fixed hopefully before the next video. The only reason I've really been using this the most of the time is that this is kind of the one I've been using to showcase this amp the whole time. So it just kind of gives you a constant, if you will, because nothing's really changed here. And as you can see, I did not touch the EQ knobs the whole time. So for whatever reason, this amp does really good about maintaining its kind of tonal structure, if you will, despite where you set it at, right? So I think that's one of the bigger strengths of this thing. Even with clean to mean, the EQ kind of holds together really well. It's thick when it's you know, clean and it's thick when it's dirty. It's thin when it's clean and it's thin when it's dirty. But you kind of, I don't know if you noticed, but when you turn this one down, it does tighten up the gain a little bit, gets a little bit grittier. So it will kind of do that grittier gain thing as well. So there's even a tonal aspect of messing with the position of the two volume knobs. So I hope this kind of did what you were hoping it would do, which is show you, you know, what the range on this thing is. And I hope that, you know, the format that I chose to go with kind of helps you get an idea for what it can do for you. Obviously not very inspiring because I'm not a very, I don't know, I'm just not that kind of player. So futzing around, we threw a couple pedals into it. We obviously know a reverb and a delay is going to work. I don't know what dirt pedals you have. I don't know what kind of music you like. So there's no telling what you're going to throw in the front of this. I am into that Dumble kind of sound. So I like that kind of grittier, more, I don't know, whatever, that kind of thing. So in either case, thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Goodbye.